You want it though? Where do I begin? I see the hate, they don't wanna see me win. Bank deposits, I got more coming in. Top down, throw the money in the wind. I don't want it all. Heard he scammer, had to switch up the accounts. Moving paper, gotta call it my account. It's all in, I can have it coming out. And through the struggle, I can see another drought. Yeah, it's not a purse, it's a merch. 6 figures was a goal, now it's 9 or a hearse. Put it work. Used to pull up, not swerve. No time for the snakes, time to put them in the dirt. That's word. I gotta get it, it's in my DNA. You only see the highlights, don't know what it takes. Last year stressing, got no sleep. Now I'm right between the courts, out of nosebleed. I see the hate, they don't wanna see me win. Bank deposits, I got more coming in. Top down, throw the money in the wind. I don't want it all. Heard he scammer, had to switch up the accounts. Moving paper, gotta call it my account. It's all in, I can have it coming out. And through the struggle, I can see another drought. Yeah, same circle, still the same gang. We just get to it, we don't gangbang. Lost.
Hey guys, welcome to the 5Fs to Love. And you know it's Saturday, so you already know it's happening. You about to get your money right. I know you've been missing these guys. Well, listen, we're only 1 week behind. You know how it is when you got these fancy experts dealing with money, honey. They got to do, this is tax season. I need to get my taxes done. I need to start my financial planning season. So you know we had to start a week late, but they are here, the finance squad. What we're going to talk about tonight is those bad habits. And with everything that's going on, with so many people getting laid off, with so many people getting buyouts, with so many people carrying debt from the past 10, 20 years, it's called bad habits. But I don't know, it's financial bad habits. It's not just your regular bad habits. So let's bring in the finance guy. Listen, you already know we got Mordecai here. Mordecai, you getting ready to straighten these people out?
I don't know about straighten out, but we're gonna have a wonderful conversation about what we should do, need to do, and I want to invite the audience to come with us. Like, this is a journey, and we're all experts in a way. Like, we all have our own stories, and so this podcast is about telling stories and learning from community. And so we're forming the Finance Squad. We're a small community. And we're attached to a larger community. So come on in, let's have this conversation. I'm ready for it.
I like this. See, Mordecai is that community outreach guy, that engagement guy. I love that about you, because most people, when you talk about money, they don't even want to talk about it. But that's the reason why we got Forrest. Forrest, you know I tell everybody you're a preacher, right?
Oh, no.
I want to be clear. Everybody, you cry, and the thing is, Mordecai's the preacher. That's the funny part,
right? Hey, I'm just operating in my calling. That's it.
And you guys are absolutely amazing. And one of the things, folks, I wanted to be clear today, we're not going to even bring out the calculators, the figures, or anything like that. We just want to kind of talk through, this is like that, you go to that intro session, right? The introduction to any course. So right now we're talking to the professors, okay? And I know you're trying to think, well, who's missing? Santana. Like I said, honey, I told y'all, you're dealing with these financial experts who have like major clients and trying to make sure everybody's taxes. That's them. So you know Santana's somewhere dealing with somebody's stuff right now, but he will be here next week. But I got two, you know what I mean? So we're good. So guys, listen, bigger conversation is that so many people not only have bad habits, but they have bad financial habits, right? And sometimes those bad habits kind of walk into making bad financial decisions. And I think where we kind of left off when we were talking about debt resolution and going through how to get your debt together, those impulsive buys, not planning, not financial goal setting, right? And understanding corrective behavior. And folks, I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to me. By the way, I did the 70-20-10.
All right.
And I did it the whole month of April. And let me tell y'all, I saved some money, baby.
You should have.
I
was like hyped up. I got excited. And then on top of that, guess what? When I really managed and looked at each dollar and what I wanted to pay off, me looking at stuff reduced that impulsive need to buy.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, because I was more excited about, one more payment, I can pay this bill off. I'm looking good, right?
Absolutely.
And on
Absolutely.
top of that, that tithes and offering, I think they was a little excited to see that check.
Oh, I was so excited. Chris, I was so excited to get that check from you. I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? I was wondering where that extra came from, but now on the finance squad, 5 F's of love, I know where it comes from. Thank you so much.
So I want to tell you honestly, and I'm going to be totally transparent. It felt good to write out a check for that amount for tithes.
Yes.
It really did. And I was just like, wow, I was given before, but when I used the 70-20-10, oh my gosh. So folks, what I'm going to say to you is when they're talking to you, they're talking to me too, right? And I want to be clear. We are going to talk a little bit, like integrate some of that 70-20-10 and the other things we discussed. But right now we're going to talk about bad habits. And I'm going to be the first person on the couch. My bad habit is I tend to see things and I don't even think about how much money is in the bank. I'm one of those people, I don't look at price tags. It's a bad habit.
That's a bad habit.
I want it, and then I just go right on to the counter.
That's a bad habit. Chris, let me tell you a story. A friend of mine, he got this Mercedes-Benz. As far as he got this Mercedes, he took it over to the Mercedes dealership. They told him that his engine was bad and that it would be $11,000 in order for them to yank out the engine and put a new engine in. And because he looked at the price tag, he said, "Thank you very much. I'm going to think about it." Took it over to another mechanic. Guy worked on Audis and all kind of foreign vehicles, and his thermostat was bad. Wow. And he said the reason why they said that is because they deal with a clientele that don't question the price.
Right.
Wow.
And watch this. He got it fixed for $600.
Are you kidding me?
All it was, his thermostat was bad.
Wow.
That's what it was. So it's important for us to really have this conversation that we're going to have on this podcast. And we want to flip it, right? We want to talk about, what habits do we need to develop, right? Because we know we got a lot of bad habits, but what habits do we need to develop? And so we know that a habit is just like a mental rut. You can do something over and over and over that the brain develops a rut, and the brain is designed to help you navigate through life and take stress off of you. So I was telling Forrest the other day, I used to leave my job. I would get into my driveway and I didn't remember crossing this highway, turning left at this street. My brain, I was on autopilot. And so, Forrest, we were talking about it because this is going to lead us into these habits, these bad habits. Yeah. So Forrest, let's talk a little bit about this whole deal of these habits and being on autopilot. We were having this conversation.
Yeah. Habits are your brain operating on autopilot. So I was reading an article by Thomas Corley. He printed this article back in June of 2021. And he said, so he did a study for about 10 years. He did a study, habits from rich people versus poor people, not making an assessment of anybody's person, just the habits that people got into and how it impacted their lives. Specifically, in this particular article, it was their financial lives. And so he broke down habit from this perspective as he delved into this article. 40%, I'm going to say this again, 40% of the things you do in your daily activity are done via habit. That means almost half of the day, your mind, your brain is operating on autopilot. The things that you are accustomed to doing are the things that you do automatically without thinking, stress-free, unconsciously.
And Forrest, as you're talking about this, in this current economic climate that we're dealing with Brexit and this whole issue of the digital dollar and China arising and all the things that are happening, is causing people a lot of fear. And what the temptation is to check out of your financial life. Like, I can't win anyway. It is what it is. Yeah. And you just kind of give up and you literally give in to autopilot. And so that's really that first bad habit that we want to flip upside down is we have to resist the temptation to have a fatalistic mindset that we can't win. I can't
Correct.
change anything, and I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying?
Mordecai, so let me take a step back because everybody's not a financial whiz. I told y'all about using those big words on me like that. Okay. So when you talk about all of that stuff happening in China and them other big words you didn't use on us, the financial words, explain to me what you feel people are thinking when they're watching the news and they're seeing all of these things happen. How does it impact us as individuals, here in the US?
Well,
Right now, that
from
can be
talk,
summed up.
yeah.
Go ahead, Mordecai.
No, go ahead.
Right now, that can be, if you were watching the news today, almost any station, with the exception of a sports channel, the buzzword right now is recession.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be in a recession. And a recession innately invokes fear.
Okay.
People are afraid. And I'm not saying that recession is a good thing, generally speaking. It will impact everybody, but it's going to impact each and every one of us differently. It's
Okay.
what are you doing? Not necessarily what are you doing now, because the recession is coming. Some folks
Right.
would say it's here already.
I
It's
believe.
what were you doing in the last 6 to 12 months
Okay.
in preparation for, not necessarily in preparation for a recession, because who could have predicted that, right?
Right.
What were you doing 12 to 6 months ago just in preparation for today? How can what do I need to do to put myself in a situation to, regardless to what the circumstances are, I'm still in the best possible situation that I can be in? Look,
Yeah.
you don't have to make a lot of money to be rich.
Right.
You have to make some decisions and some choices
Mm-hmm.
to generate wealth or to be rich. That does not mean I gotta have a job where I make a lot of money, or I have to have an income that produces. I have to have a job that produces a large income. That's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily true.
No.
We are what we think we are. Listen, I've been saying this. I said it back in January and February on a couple of the shows back then. Vernacular is extremely important. I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to continue to say it. You are what you tell yourself you are. You will become who you tell yourself you will become.
Yeah.
So,
And
Forrest,
I think,
Mordecai, before you answer that question, this is where I think a lot of people get confused. When you say the news says that we're in a recession, and some people say we're going into a recession, that is a word that freak people, that just totally blows people's mind.
Yeah.
But when Mordecai referenced what's going on in other countries as it relates to the dollar, I want people to understand if you're not buying stuff from China or whoever, the impact on you is minimal, but it's the stock market. If you're in the stock, and so I want people to understand the impact versus where they're at. And then when we come back in segment number 2 to kind of talk through what does that look like for people if you're one of those people who just got laid off or you
yeah.
got your buyout. What does that look like moving forward to steps? But first, I want to talk about relating what you said to what Mordecai was saying about that China situation and Russia and our trading dollar, that if you do have 401k or you're invested in the stock market, they need to call one of you guys right now, right? Is that
Yeah.
what
I
they need
think,
to do?
yeah. And that is the issue that I'm bringing up, is because people are afraid. They don't know what to do with their money. For the
Right.
first time in history, we have a new currency. We have a new system that is really, we're right on the precipice of it. It's here, right? Cryptocurrency. Everybody's doing Cash App, Venmo, right? We got
Mhm.
all these different, apps now and ways to exchange services and pay for items. And
Right.
so there's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, and people want to know, do I leave my money in my stock? Do
Mhm.
I leave it in my 401k? Do I move it? And so that fear oftentimes freezes people. And this is what we're talking about, is that the brain will do everything to try to relieve you of going to the next level. And
Yeah.
so, right before the break, we're going to challenge everyone on this first habit to learn a new skill. Force yourself to do something new. Break out of the matrix. Don't listen to everything that's coming across on your television. be a researcher and learn some new skills, get around some new people, get into a new circle where they're talking about this stuff, go to a conference, sneak into one, do whatever you got to do, but don't fall asleep at the wheel.
Did he say sneak into a financial conference? You better go ahead, Mordecai.
I'm just saying, like, you got to get hungry. You got to get hungry. Go at lunchtime. No one cares. You go right there and walk right in. I know we got to take a break, but this is the thing. We want to just say to everyone, wake up. It's not over. We're not at the end. We are actually on the verge of something really big. And so that's why we're having this conversation about habits and what we need to do, because there are some major opportunities that are going to hit us over the next 5 to 10 years. And we want to make sure that we're all ready for it. So I know we got to take a break and we're going to jump back in.
All right, folks, we'll be right back. The only thing I can say to you is take off cruise control, because now it's time for you to take control of your finances. We'll be right back with the Finance Squad after this quick commercial break.
My name is Christine Burkett, the inventor of the 5 F's to Love. This is a compatibility app. It's an app that gives you an opportunity to rate words that start with the letter F in chronological order of importance to you, to help you find your one true love, your soulmate, and the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. So after you've taken the time to rate your F's in chronological order, you send a link to the person, I don't know, you just met, or the person you've been dating for quite some time. Or maybe it's the person you've been married to for 30 to 40 to 50 years. And then you compare your top 5 F's to find out what things you have in common and things that you may perhaps need to work on. This is taking a simplistic perspective on how to find your one true love, your soulmate, the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. And thank you for downloading the 5 F's app.
Hey guys, welcome back to the 5 F's to Love. You're looking at the Finance Squad because it's Saturday. So you know you should have your notebook out. We got Mordecai, Forrest, and you know Santana, honey. He's somewhere to helping somebody with their money. You know he is. So listen, when we left off, if you missed the first segment, we were just kind of giving you guys a high-level overview of some of the things that's probably going through your mind. As you've heard the word recession, some of you've gotten buyouts, you've gotten layoffs. People are still looking for work, and you're trying to figure out what to do with your money. But one of the major things that I want you to take away from the first segment, if you missed it, and of course you can always go back and watch it, is take off the autopilot. Stop getting up every Saturday thinking you have to be at the mall, right? We do that every Saturday. We think Saturday is go to the mall day. That's what they were talking about, because when you start looking at your finances, you're going to realize that that's not the best thing. And you probably missed the whole thing about Christine. Listen to the Finance Squad. I did my 70-20-10 and I came out on top, baby. So y'all might want to start doing that 70-20-10. And I'm going to put into this link when you're watching this. Go into YouTube or Facebook. You're going to click the link that's going to give you the link to the one where they talked about the 70-20-10. It's going to be that YouTube video. You can rewatch that. So guys, we want to jump back in segment 2. This is a big conversation. It's a huge conversation around fear and creating the conceptual idea of how to stop your life being on autopilot. Mordecai, what are you going to say to these people who are on autopilot right now?
Again, you know, I'm a storyteller. Had a young man, 25 years old, a phenomenal jazz artist, and just amazing. And we helped him put his 70-20 together, right? Yeah. His 10-20 70 budget together. And this is what we found. And without looking at it on paper, it felt like the weight of his debt and the weight of bad decisions was crushing him. Once we laid it out, we were able to say, hey, man, look, you can be out of debt January 1st, right? January 1st. And it was like a whole new reality. And it was like, look, you do this, and you do this. That's gone. Now you're going to free up cash. And so, you know, it was like it was breaking habits. And one of them was, I can't win, right? The phone is ringing. The creditors are calling saying you're behind. And I said, block all the noise out. Let's get this organized. Let's actually develop. Let's get a vision of what you want to do. And this is what I told him. You are not who you used to be. You can be.
I love that.
You can.
Mordecai, I want to say first thing, I love what you just said. You showed that person, you gave them a plan step by step to hit a goal financially. And like you said, a lot of people look at their finances, they're getting the calls and they're stressing. But within a couple of hours with you guys, he figured out there was a roadmap to success financially. And the thing is, Forrest, when we left off, you said it's not even about the amount of money you make.
No,
Like what? It's not, is it?
So excellent point, Mordecai. Excellent point. I wanna circle back to the habits though. But you asked the question, Christine, it's not about money. Listen, the real if it's possible, what I want the listening audience to do right now is forget everything you heard.
Yeah.
All right. It's a blank sheet of paper.
That's
all
right.
The first question I want to ask you is, do you really love what you do, or do you simply like what you do? Now, there's a third option. You can also hate what you do. All right. I love it, I like it, or I hate it. We're going to start right there. Now, when you incorporate habits into that question, right? Everybody has to answer that question for themselves. Incorporating habits into that. My environment, how I was raised, where I was raised, the things that I saw, what people poured into me or what they didn't pour into me growing up. All of these things dictate and determine my thought process, how I process information. Do I process information? And when I say do I process it, do I really contemplate it and think it through? Or do I stick my head under a pillow and just forget about it?
Yeah.
Hope it work out.
Hope it works out, right? It's the old adage, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. That's insane. What if the bridge is out and you don't have a canoe? How you going to get to the other side? That's insane. Not to say that you know exactly what the bridge is going to look like upon arrival, but the more planning you can do before you get there, the better prepared you'll be to navigate that bridge once you do get there, in whatever condition that bridge is in. So, again, taking it back to habits, I read this article by Thomas Corley, and I'm telling you, it was earth-shattering and very simple. It's simplistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Addressing and changing your finances is not always about finances. There's so many other things involved in it.
Emotional.
Yes. We talked about debt before. In January and February, we talked about debt. One of the leading causes to how we view and then respond to debt is how we think about it, how we treat it. What type of habits do we have as it relates to debt? So let's get back to habits. Mordecai said he was talking to a jazz musician.
Yeah.
You can be what you want to be. You can do what you want. You are who you say you are. All right.
Yeah.
Choose a path. Now, specifically, let's talk about wealth, right? Choose a path of wealth that's right for you.
I like that.
Not what your professor said or not what you saw on the YouTube or a podcast, unless it's this podcast.
That's good.
Listen to these guys.
Choose the one that's right for you. For me, if I'm honest with you, when I gave my life to Christ, one of the things I did was an internal check. We all have gifts and talents. And one of my requests from my Heavenly Father was help me identify those things. Why did you create me? Outside of Matthew 28, right? All Christians are created to go make disciples. Outside of that, what am I good at? I didn't have a father in the house to point out to me what I was good at. And I think that's one of the responsibilities of a dad, is to identify and then share with their children, this is where you're strong. I didn't have that. So I asked my Heavenly Father, and he revealed some things to me about my gifts and talents. I then chose a path that was good for me. It may not have been good for everybody else, but check this out. I didn't check in with everybody else. Right. The Lord told me what I was good at. I didn't need to check in with everybody else. Once I identified that, now in the process or the steps of, let me go find people operating in this genre who I consider successful and have a dialogue with them. If they're not in my immediate household or my extended household, if they don't go to my school or They're not parents of my friends. I need to go find them. So fear will prevent you from doing that.
Wow.
You have to overcome that.
So Forrest, what we say is that there are 3 ways to like kind of work through this, break out of that matrix and get out of autopilot, get on the right side of these pathways. And how do you find the right path, right? And we'll talk about the 4 paths, but it's like a grid. The first one is identity, the second one is process, and the third one is outcomes. So this is the question that we work people through. What you believe determines what you do.
That's right.
What you do determines what you get.
That's
Yep.
right.
So if you're not getting what you want, you work back, right? So it works all the way back to my identity, who I am, right?
I am.
What do I believe? So if what I believe in is producing bad results, then the problem is not I need to just change my habits, what I do. I need to change what I believe.
Exactly.
Right? So that's the process. If what I believe is producing a certain action and producing a certain result that is not a part of my vision, then I need to go back. I need to check who I am. And this is what we say, and all the experts write about it. They say, listen, that you can begin to change who you are by practicing new habits over and over and over until the habits begin to inform your new me, the new
I
you.
love that.
The reason why we can't move forward is because the old habits are loud, and we just got to keep working on this new habit, keep saving, right? Keep it, whatever it is, until guess what? I don't even hear that old habit no more. It's gone. It's dead.
But
So
you know, Mordecai, I think it's more than just, I think it's an emotional attachment to it. Like it's just become your norm.
Yeah.
And that's the part I was telling. Why is it norm for you just to be broke, living from paycheck to paycheck? Because you have said, it's Friday night, I got to go to the bar and spend $130.
It's even deeper than that, Christina. It's for some folks, it's the norm to stay in an abusive relationship.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Say that again.
It's deeper than that. For some individuals, the norm is to stay in an abusive relationship.
You're right.
So when you ask, why does somebody do things that seems counterproductive and refer to that as the normal? For the same reason normal for them is staying in an abusive relationship. It literally becomes what you are accustomed to. And then like Mordecai just said, it becomes who you are.
Who you are.
That's what I think. It's become who they are.
Oh, here's the deal.
They know they want more, but they're stuck in that emotional brokenness.
But this is what breaks all of that, right? We often talk about, and all the experts write about it, is the lack of a vision will freeze you in time. What we're trying to communicate on this podcast is that you are one vision away from coming out of it.
Say that again. Say that again, Mordecai.
You're one vision away from breaking out and coming out of everything that's holding you back. You got to establish a new vision, a new idea. You hear this across the country, this reimagining. I sat down and I said, man, I'm not happy with how things are going. And I looked around, I couldn't blame anybody. It was me. So I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work on what I believe. I believe that I can live beyond paycheck. This is not my best. Like, I didn't need anybody. Like, you have to come to that place where you cast a new vision for your life and you go after it. And so, it's kind of like the young man that we were working with. A new vision was cast. And here's what we decided. Watch this. Was that he had the passion to write a new vision. Watch this. But he didn't have the income to make it happen speedily or in the way that he desired. So I said, guess what? We don't give up. You just develop another revenue stream.
There you go.
You get what I'm saying?
Mordecai, but say that again. People, sometimes you got to create another what?
You create another revenue stream, because he was thinking, so here's the deal. I said, create another revenue stream, not get another job.
That's right.
I like
create a revenue stream, not go get another job. You understand? So we begin to talk about the pathways to wealth. And I want Forrest to cover in this article. I wanted to cover number 1, because I think this is important as we share our stories about the 4 common pathways to wealth. So Forrest, I'm gonna kick it back to you for number
Okay,
one.
Mordecai, give me one quick second. We're going to quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to kick off, what is it called? The 4 different what? Pathways?
4 pathways. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're taking a quick commercial break. But while we're on that commercial break, can you please go get your sticky notes, your notebook, your pen, your pencil, a crayon, okay?
She said a
I
crayon.
need y'all to be on top of this. We trying to help you get your money right. That's why they're here. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Look at me, I'm on. 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 Can't stop, keep going. Can't stop, keep going. Can't stop, keep going. Can't stop, keep going.
Okay. Hold up. Yeah. I'm chasing a bag, I'm racing the clock. Look at them block, watching them flop. Used to see this in my sleep. When I ain't had shit but my thoughts in the car, I really was lost. Now I'm public with the soundscapes. Niggas floss, I'm really pulling strings for the pound cake. I see you went for a puppet in the clown face for a little wage. That shit, the talk of the town is late. Still me, I never switched sides. Came a long way with the gas tank running up.
Yeah, what's up with it? Do it cause I love it and I stuck with it. We ain't with the subbing in the cut with it. Please none of the talks, I heard enough of it. Like, what you gonna do? Where you at? Who you with? You ain't really about this, don't talk about it. Really on the move, on the map, never slip. Keep your hands to your lips, don't talk about it. Real eyes, real lies all the time. Stand on it, if we said it, we don't walk around it. Loose lips, sink ships, red cup, blue strips, new phone, who this? No, we don't allow it. Really on go, I don't know what's an off day. Now we on road, came from smoking in the hallway. Now we got shows, boys feeling like Broadway. Always look both ways, even on a crossway. Driving down Cross Bay, out town Barclays. Really on big things, came up a small way. Championship rings, baby, that's a ball game. Oh, she want a little bag, baby, that's small change. Yeah, that money talk. If we ain't cool, then cut me off. No breaking news, don't run your mouth. Thought it was the plug, now he running off. Thought it was a plug, now he running off. What you gonna do? Where you at? Who you with? You ain't really about this, don't talk about it. Really on the move, on the map, never slip. Keep your hands to your lips, don't talk about it.
Back, y'all, and when we left off, we was talking about a 4-way, and it's not the kind of 4-way you talking about. We talking about a financial 4-way. So y'all better be listening. Did y'all get them crayons, that notebook? I got sticky notes. Okay, I keep it real. But listen, folks, this is real business. These guys are financial experts, and they work with people all over the country. So I want to be clear, if you're going to listen to some people, you need to listen to them. They're talking about us as minorities, what we can do, where we're at, and how we can grow our finances, because we're looking for long-term sustainable financial wealth. Now, guys, kick out that 4-way, because I don't know about y'all, but I'm ready. Let me get my notebook. I got to get a new chapter ready for mine. See?
Yeah, so we're gonna hit these 4 pathways, 4 common pathways to wealth. Once you get your 10, 20, 70, your budget and all that stuff we talked about, now let's talk about how we move forward. So Forrest, like we talked about this, and each one that we're going to talk about, we kind of associated with each one of these pathways. Our story is related to it. Forrest?
Okay.
So now these are not the only pathways. In Mr. Corley's research, what he found when he interviewed these individuals, and it was over 177 self-made millionaires. During the interviewing process, what he found was these 4 pathways seemed to ring louder than some of the other pathways. So the first one is the saver and the investor. The saver and investor path is probably the path that takes the longest route, because this is the one where wealth is accumulated over time. But this is an individual who sticks to that 20, 10, 70 rule, that 10, 20, 70 rule, and may even sacrifice and save 30% or 40%
Yeah.
because they are, I'm going to say, hell bent on obtaining and or reaching these financial goals. So that saver and investor path, that's a path that most individuals, after they reevaluate and change some habits, this was one path that seemed to ring louder than some of the others as individuals who accumulated wealth or got to a place where they felt like they were financially comfortable in life.
Yeah, so let's give an example. So there, I read this story about a young man who was working an average job. He didn't have like a high paying job, but he had a decent job, right? And I don't think it was six figures, even close to it. But about 20 years ago, he decided he was going to take something like 60% of his check, and he was going to invest in Tesla stock. So when Tesla wasn't anything, like it was, it was being traded, but it wasn't like it is now. He was buying stock every 2 weeks. He was dropping. That's that saver investor. Now, guess what? He's a millionaire.
Yeah,
that was the path that he took. He said, "I don't care about driving no car. I don't care about no clothes. I don't care about going on vacation." What he saw was he had a vision that by saving and investing, I could change the whole course of my life. Watch this, over a 10, 15, 20-year period. And it took him longer, but guess what? He
got there. And this was not a guy who come from a household where investing in the market or individual companies was something that was routinely done. This was something that he reached outside of his circle, identified something, researched it, had some conversations with some folks, and fought the fear and decided to take a chance.
Yeah.
What's that second one, Mordecai?
Yeah, man. So the second one is what we call the big company climber path. Corley talks about this, the big company climber path. And that was the path, me coming from, my mom and my father worked really hard. They both went to work 9 o'clock in the morning, got off at 5 like clockwork, right?
Yeah.
And and so what they passed on to me was knowledge and love. Yeah. Well, no money.
Work ethic, and an excellent work ethic.
That's
Absolutely. Right. They passed knowledge, work ethic, love, a spirituality. They passed all the things of real essence. That's what they passed on to me. However, I knew that I needed to do something. So in my mind, I am going to pursue what I feel my passion is with the company. So I landed a corporate job at CSX Transportation. And I went from Florida to Michigan. I got promoted twice in a year. I got promoted within 3 years. I had so many promotions that I made the decision that I'm not going to law school. I'm like, why would I go to school now? When I'm bumping up against six figures, that was 22,000 or whatever it was, right? You get what I'm saying? 2002. So I'm like, man, forget that. But the point is, some people, they really love the corporate ladder.
They do.
Yeah.
They really love it. And sometimes we hate on them, but that's a path that they've chosen. They do very well, right? They are a company person. They committed, loyal, and dedicated, and that's the path that I was on. And it took me out of my environment and brought me to a whole nother state and changed me, right? So that's the second path. So you might be out there and you hear a lot of people say, well, you're not going to get there on the job, but choose a path that is right for you. And that's about
something, Mordecai?
Yeah.
This is a path that an individual has to be dedicated to and absolutely committed to. And there are people who are wired this way. So again, vernacular is important. Another way to look at or think about the big company climber is a disciple. Not such a bad word.
Say that again, Forrest.
You said disciple? What do you mean when you say disciple?
A disciple, somebody that's in it to win it. I'm riding with this one thing from the bottom to the top.
That's right.
All right. So folks, it's not a religious term. And this point is being made that you are your level of commitment. And so you need to just understand that. I want to go back to something you guys said. I don't think people understand, to your point, Mordecai, some people did it because they saw their parents do it. And some people do it because they know innately that's what they have. Like I know people right now who have a corporate job and they like, I should have been an entrepreneur years ago. Then I have folks who keep trying to be an entrepreneur and they just need to go to work for somebody.
Yeah.
Right. Because they just don't, because it takes a lot to be an entrepreneur. You have to be very structured and focused, and you have to be forecasting while you're still in the moment that you're in. And you have to have so many skill sets. So the thing is, I just want to ask you guys, if you don't know how to find your right path, you're not sneaking into the financial workshops in your area, right?
No. That goes back to what I said earlier today, Christina.
What we doing?
If you don't have somebody to pour into you, to share with you,
come on,
where you're good at, then you have to go find these people. And these are people that they're going to keep it a buck. They're going to keep it 100. They're going to be honest with you. This is what you're good at. And I think innately, most of us know what areas we are and are not good in.
Right.
But the world says an entrepreneur, ooh, that's fly. That's what I want to do. When in fact, you should be a company man. The end result's going to be the exact same.
Right.
But you don't really consider that glamorous because that's not what everybody is clamoring about. We want to do what is getting the most likes on social media.
Yeah, we refer to it as thinking about it in terms of a calling versus a career.
That's right.
A calling is something you need to do.
That's right.
It touches you at such a deep point. It inspires you.
But if you don't do it, you feel like something is wrong.
Something is wrong. But here's the thing we want to encourage people.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes your calling isn't always you can't always make money on it in the beginning.
You can't monetize it.
Yeah. Right. But it is something that it's down inside of you. That's how my church got started. I was working on the corporate climber path, and I had started this youth movement. At the time, I didn't know that's what it was, but we were wanting to empower youth that were what we say matriculating through the halls of higher academia. Yeah. And how do we encourage them and help them discover their purpose? And the thing blew up. So I'm sitting in Chicago and they're toasting over a multi-million-dollar deal we just closed. And I have an outer body experience. And I go above the table and I look down on myself and everybody's happy and I'm unhappy because I was being called to another thing.
Wow.
Are you hearing what I'm saying?
How did you feel in that moment?
I was freaked out. Everybody was happy. I mean, it's multi. I mean, one of the biggest deals of my career. And when we had sangria, when the glass went up, I went out of my body and I saw the situation and I felt trapped. I felt like I was not doing what I was created to do. And I felt just like somebody called you. That's what we want people to feel. What's calling you? What's waking you up at night? What's getting you up early in the morning when you're sitting on your job in your cubicle? You doing this other thing,
right?
And
here's another way to look at it. What would you do for free?
That's always my thing.
I would do this for free.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm in the financial industry, and I absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, believe this is my calling. I was a government employee on the fast track to wherever you can go as you rise up the ranks through government employment, feeling absolutely, utterly, and literally unfulfilled. In fact, I was telling myself every day, if I got to do this for 30 years, I'm going to die before that happens. Wow. Physically, literally, and emotionally. I got out of that industry and got into the financial industry, and I wouldn't change it for nothing in the world, which leads me to the third path. The dreamer and entrepreneur path. That's yours truly. That's who I am. I believe if you can see it, you can do it. If the good Lord to give you visions, some people call them dreams. Mm-hmm. Now, these aren't always to be shared with everybody else because it wasn't their dream. It was yours.
Yeah, that's good.
It was yours. You need to design goals, action items around that dream. Okay. The dream isn't the goal. It's the end result.
Come on.
Okay.
What do I have to do to get to that end result? You start designing action items around that. I spent the better part of about 18 months interviewing people who worked in banks, interviewing financial planners, interviewing wealthy people.
Wow.
I mean, to the point where I was asking them, listen, if I get into the financial services industry, would you trust me enough with the proper training and coaching to manage your affairs? I asked that question.
Wow.
And I got a whole lot of no's. I got one or two people who said yes, and that was enough for me.
But you still did it though, because you were so passionate about it. So I want to ask you guys a question. A lot of people out here have that entrepreneur thing that they want to do, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's great. When we talk about, you know, looking at your financial habits and making shifts, before a person decides to run off and do something in that space, isn't it best for them to get their finances and plan out that strategy and don't just jump into it? Because it takes a lot to start a business.
So in this show, we're talking about, generally speaking, habits and how these habits need to be changed to position yourself to go somewhere else. And we're talking about 4 different paths that a number of people have taken once they've changed these habits to get to this next place. In a later show, we're going to break down, literally speaking, how you go about making some of these transitions.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the things that you find, like for me, when I felt called to move out of corporate America and move into community service, I had already anticipated through looking at the budget, I was going to lose a lot of material.
But you knew that in advance.
That's the point. And I was okay with that. I counted up the cost.
Right.
But here's what I got back. And we want to like highlight, I got my time back.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let me tell you, my son Andrew, we laugh about it now, but he was born because I was home. You understand? I had time to be home.
You know what? Look, y'all, I just want to say we got to go to a quick commercial break. We're not saying have a baby while you planning your new business.
I'm saying,
who knows?
Do what works for you. You feel me?
It can happen. All right, folks, when we get back, we're going to talk to these guys about making sure, one, we got our 4 pathways clearly defined. And then where do we go next? After we look at where we fit in one of those 4 pathways, what's our next steps? Because I'm going to tell y'all, the next couple shows, you better not log in and start watching without that notebook, that sticky note, something, a crayon. Get the kids' coloring book right on the last page. You got to be ready, because this year, at the end of the year, we want people saying that you got your finances right. That's the whole point. I'm doing it. I'm doing everything they tell y'all to do. I'm doing it. And my finances getting right. Don't fool with that. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
My business. 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 My business.
Out my mind, give me some directions to get to you. Ain't gonna waste my time. I know that we got connection. I think about you. You're on my mind, on my mind, on my mind. Yeah, I'm going out of my mind, out of my mind, out of my mind. Yeah, for you, my love. You drive me crazy, tell me what to do, what to do. I'm on my knees, yeah, I am begging you, begging you. I'll break the rules if it will get me to you.
And yes, you caught me doing my finance happy dance. Get over it. Listen, folks, we're back and it's the Finance Squad. And this is Saturday and you know it. So listen, we're going to be wrapping up in 10 minutes. But two things are going to happen. One, these guys are going to talk to you for the next 5 to 7 minutes, right? And then we're going to preview their upcoming show that you cannot miss. But I want to be clear, folks, the whole point of Forrest, Mordecai, and Santana lending their expertise, let me change that, financial expertise, is to help minority people get their finances together. If you don't listen to anybody else, if you're watching this, send this link to somebody right now who you know needs to get their finances right. If you watch every podcast that they've done up to this point, I'm telling you, your finances would be at least 20% where it needs to be. Because I've been watching them and doing it. We were off for the month of April. I was having my own workshops with y'all podcasts. With the ladies. I did. I went on Zoom and I went through and I played your first one. And we went through and I said, everybody, look, what y'all looking? It's like, you know what? 2 of my friends own their own business and had issues with the IRS.
Wow.
Your podcast helped them.
Wow.
So, folks, I'm not just talking. I'm not basically hosting and hanging out with these guys. I'm listening. My friends are listening. I'm using their stuff to help people get their money right. And now they got faithful followers. They're like, we're with them. Okay. So listen,
Absolutely.
I'm going to take myself out because I need them to be focused. And I'll be back when I have to do the recap. Go ahead, guys. Hit it.
Yeah. So what we were talking about, and Forrest, we can kind of hit it, is the 4 pathways to wealth. Forrest, you talked about the saver investor path, and there are many different strategies and ways that you can invest, whether it's options trading, whether it's the long game in terms of the stock market, right? We can talk about how to do that, and please click the link that's in the comment section where you can get in contact with us, where we can take you deeper. The second pathway is the big company climber path. Some of you are company folks, and don't let nobody make you feel bad. Like you are called. Okay. That's okay. That's right. Like you're an amazing product manager. You're an amazing marketing manager, director of HR. Like that, we need you. The third pathway we talked about was the dreamer entrepreneur path, right? And entrepreneurs are problem solvers, right? Whether that's social entrepreneurship, because we don't talk a lot about social entrepreneurship, right? Where, your business is civic, is public facing, and you're solving a social ill. Your business, fills a social ill. And so you dreamed about that. That fourth pathway, and I've met some amazing folks, is what, we call the virtuoso path. And these are folks.
Explain that one, Mordecai.
Yeah, these are folks that have just an ability, a gift to problem solve, to break things down. Many of them are consultants, right? Some are entrepreneurs, but they help people really see things, and they're always in the future. They're always looking ahead. And so that's the reason why I kind of attach to this. And my example of a virtuoso is someone, as I was reading about the tsunami that hit the island, there were many folks that went to that island knowing that there was only one flight off that island a day. All day long, they noticed the animals were running, the birds were flying, the cats, the dogs, everything was making it to the hill. And so the virtuoso is someone who says, why do we only have one flight? What's happening? Why do we have these patterns? And so if you're out there and you're that kind of person where you don't live in the present, you live in the future, guess what? There may be a calling. And so we gotta really think about what are we called to do, and stop listening at what the world is saying. You can't do it. You're going to lose everything. And I'm telling you, this is my testimony. I pursued my calling, and let me tell you what happened for us. I made more in one day what was taking me 30 days to make. And God told me, don't you ever doubt what I can do when you obedient to your call.
That's right. And as I read through Tom Corley's article, he talked about a lot of percentages. And when you look at these 4 paths, he gave us a length of time that it might take an individual to find the success that individual is trying to accomplish. In the dreamer and the entrepreneur, in the virtuoso path, some of those individuals, because they were operating in a calling, because they were doing something they loved, not liked, definitely not hated, because they did something that they loved, and it was something that they could monetize. These individuals had incomes on average of over $4 million. Had net worths on average of over $4 million, six-figure incomes, and accomplished this in 12 to 18 months.
Drastically
12 to
sooner,
18 months.
drastically sooner than those who simply liked their
Yes.
job, right?
Yes.
These were folks, like, again, like you said, Forrest, these are folks that loved it. Like, so think about what you're bringing to the table when you love something versus what you like. Think about how when you're in a relationship, you just like somebody, you know what I'm saying? Your energy is off, but when you love it, you bring in more than what's needed. Like, it's overflow. And that's really the message is, if you want to begin to move to the next level, you have to continue to dig into who you are. So here's where you go. Find you 3 people that you love and trust, trust you, and begin to have this conversation.
That's right.
Ask them, when I do this, you've noticed that I come alive. My attitude changes.
That's right.
Right? Find those folks that will, so we say this, you need folks that will see into your future, that will speak into your future, and that will sow. Find those people who want to help you get there and have the conversation about, when I see you do this, Mordecai, you just totally change. And when my small community told me that, I went for it. And
That's
19 years later, I've never looked back.
Never. And I would include, when you find these individuals whom you're going to have these conversations with, one of the questions might be, what am I good at? In your opinion, what do you think? Where do I excel? If these are individuals who are in your corner, who are going to be honest and transparent with you, they're going to tell you from their vantage point what you're good at. Listen, when we come back next week, we want to touch on, we are going to work our way through Tom Corley's 16 habits that separate rich people from poor people.
Yeah.
Wealthy people from poor people. And we're going to break this down over a series of shows. Our next show, our goal is to attempt to get on 4 of these habits, or the next 4, I should say. They are.
I was going to say, before you give them for us, can I preview the show first real quick?
Absolutely.
All right, folks, we're getting ready to premiere next week's show. When we come back from premiering next week's show, they're going to break down what you learned, because you already know you're going to need that notebook. You know this commercial is 30 seconds, so you better stay right there. Check out next week's show.
Do you want it though?
Where do I begin? I see the hate, they don't wanna see me win. Bank deposits, I got more coming in. Top down, throw the money in the wind. I don't want it all. Heard the scammer had to switch up the accounts. Moving paper, gotta call it my account. It's all in, I can have it coming out. They through the struggle, I can see another drought.
Yeah, it's not a purse, it's a merge. 6 figures was a goal, now it's 9 or a hearse. Put it work. Used to pull up, now swerve. No time for the snakes, time to put them in the dirt. That's word. I gotta get it, it's in my DNA. You only see the highlights, don't know what it takes. Last year stressing, got no sleep. Now I'm right between the courts, out of nosebleeds.
I see the hate, they don't wanna see me win. Bank deposits, I got more coming in. Top down, throw the money in the wind. I don't want it all. Heard the scammer had to switch up the accounts. Moving paper, gotta call it my account. It's all in, I can have it coming out. And through the struggle, I can see another drought.
Yeah, same circles to the same gang. We just get to it, we don't gangbang. Lost some friends to the same thing. Keep a low pro when we maintain. Find us in a lost somewhere, kicking back.
Okay, guys, you saw the promo for next week's show. Now Forrest is going to go through what you learned on next week's show. So you need what?
Right.
The notebook. Get ready. Go ahead, hit it, Forrest. Give it to him.
All right. Our goal is to stay on task. But the next set of shows, the next series of shows are going to be real intense. And some of them will invoke serious conversation or deeper conversation. But our goal is to make it through 4 habit changing or habit transforming concepts.
Okay.
The first, individuals who transform. Tom Corley interviewed 177 ordinary people who became self-made millionaires. And these were some of the characteristics, at least these 16. There were more, but these 16 were most prominent. Next show, we're going to talk about 4 of them. These individuals either liked or loved what they did.
Wow.
They either liked or loved what they did. And those who loved it transformed quicker than those who liked it.
Wow.
All right. They set good goals versus bad goals. And we're going to touch on what is a good goal and what is a bad goal. Remember, goals oftentimes are habit forming. 40% of your daily activities are done on autopilot. So we got to go back and address some of these habits, because we have some bad goals that we're actually performing on autopilot.
Right.
All right. And then they live below their means. They make that a daily habit. You know, we've talked about that earlier on an earlier podcast.
We did.
That's where the whole, during the budget sessions, that's where the 10, 20, 70. So I'm living on 70% of what I make. These successful individuals, they lived below their means. And we got some personal stories there. Some of these individuals lived considerably below their means. Like that 70% was reduced to 60 or 50%.
That's what I'm working towards. So folks, I don't want you guys to think it's unrealistic. The goal that they gave me was first to pay off my debt. And I'm using the 7-20-10 to do that. And then once my debt is paid off, then I go back, and then they're going to show me how to reduce that 70 down even more. One of the things you missed the first couple of podcasts starting in January, I wanted to buy a house, and they told me, no, the interest rate isn't right. And I didn't think about the recession, but they were like, no, if you're living in a house right now, Christine has paid for it, and you need to just do what you're going to do. Save up your money. So my thing is, I'm doing the things that's going to increase the value of my home. You know, I'm getting the new garage door put on. I'm doing some other things around the house to really, so I'm investing in the house, but I'm also paying down debt. So at the end of this year, my credit score is going to be even higher. I'll have less debt, and my house will be in much better condition. So that if I decide, well, let me not say if they tell me, then I can buy a house. Because you got to start listening to somebody, because I'm smart in tech, but I'm not smart in money. So you got to listen to somebody, folks. And everybody thinks because, you know, I can teach algebra, geometry, calculus doesn't mean I know how to handle my finances. So I want to be clear. I'm really smart, but I listen to these guys. I rewatch the podcast, and I'm following the directions that they're giving. Okay. So when you watch this one, I'm going to put the link in for the second debt resolution podcast that they did. And they actually, it's workbook links in there. My Excel spreadsheet, by the way, Forrest, I did my Excel spreadsheet.
All right.
My expenses, I'm managing it by pay week, right? I did separate and put my savings account at a different bank where I pay my bills out of. That way I don't see it when I log into that account. I'm not even thinking about that savings. And so those are the things I pay attention, because, by the way, folks, I'm a spender. So I knew I couldn't look at it, because the more you see, the more you be thinking, oh, well, I could probably go get this little thing for $20. It just takes that one $20 purchase.
That's it.
Next thing you know, you didn't cut into your savings.
That's it. And we're going to address that as one of the 16 most prominent habits that separate folks. Remember, you guys, economic situations, downturns, who remembers 2008 and what happened then?
Yeah.
On the other side of these events, there's a transfer of wealth. Those who can position themselves to take advantage of that transfer are those who do the necessary things leading into and during the rough economic patch. What are we doing today to prepare ourselves for when this time is past? And again, on the next show, we're going to be talking about individuals who make this transition. They either like or they love what they do. And those who love it tend to transition quicker. They set good goals versus bad goals. And we're going to talk about the difference between the two.
Good goals, bad goals.
And listen, and this one is key. They make living below their means a daily habit.
Wow.
Let me say that again. They make living below their means a daily habit. So
All
that
right,
has
so
now become a habit.
it is, and that's the thing. So they're trying to show you how to change your habits, and that's one of the major things we need to know. It's nothing else for me to say other than get y'all notebooks ready for next week. Forrest, I love you guys. I think you're absolutely amazing. I really appreciate you guys lending your expertise to our community to help them. And I know you could be doing workshops anywhere around the world, but the mere fact that you guys use this platform in order to have a virtual workshop that people can replay over and over again, like I did on Zoom. Okay, folks, keep it real. Start using these resources and tools, and we'll see you guys next Saturday with the Finance Squad. Thanks, Forrest.
Have a good evening now.
All right.
All right.